Willkommen, bienvenue, welcome once again to another live stream. I am, of course, joined by my esteemed friend Hamish McLay of Search Convey, and this is IPSA Kind of Magic, a show which is dedicated really to the Independent Property Search Association, of which Hamish is the current chairman. Today, we are talking about what we're trying to achieve, moments perhaps from what we've talked about previously, and also other war stories. And for that, I'm afraid I'm going to turn the attention straight on to my esteemed friend Hamish.
Good morning. I trust you all had the opportunity to replenish your cups of coffee whilst I was waiting to get my technical issues sorted. We call this part one, I think, in terms of what we want to speak about. We're speaking about two aspects, because one of the challenges in terms of what we at IPSA are able to achieve is communicating that aspect to other people. Very often they're not aware of the efficient way in which we can actually carry out local authority searches and provide with all sorts of others. And a great sort of marketing strategy suggested to me by a great friend said to me, well, Hamish, if you can identify areas where other providers, where other methods of getting hold of the information you provide are letting clients down,
Right.
it would be a good idea to demonstrate what makes IPSA searches a particularly useful way of going about accommodating those essential ingredients of the search packs, whether you be a buyer, whether you be a seller, because if you like, the independence of our members enables us to provide items from any source that our clients would like them to come from. We will also, one other thing which is absolutely sort of vital, because we are looking to achieve and find the best of the best, we do interrogate the sort of market, we do interrogate the media to find out what's going on. So at any one time, IPSA members will have the most up-to-date information, whether it be legal stuff, because the legal aspect changes as well. So all they provide to do with the legal aspects, and sometimes they do get ahead of the legal aspects. I mean, just very, very briefly, because it's worth mentioning, the Law Society said they were going to introduce certain changes and recommend environmental information to people and say that needed to be included. That was an incentive. Now, the thing is, we have known for a long time, the majority of people have known for a long time, that an environmental report is essential, particularly including climate change. If you've got a 25-year mortgage, it's handy to know if that area is going to flood in the next 10 years. So if you like, we're ahead of that game because we work with people who have the most up-to-date information. Tell you a story about that as well, that we were able to help a client out. Shortly.
I was going to say one other thing that I don't think people really understand. Each IPSA member or organization, firm, as it were, within the IPSA firmament has often built up a relationship with council and other providers of information, sometimes in tens of years. They've purposefully built that relationship, which means that often getting that information is sped up just through the liquidity that is provided within that relationship. Whereas, for instance, if you went to one of these factory conveyancers or one of these one-size-fits-most organizations, they are often a different person, depending on which day of the week it is, calling up whoever it is, the council or otherwise, and they won't have any particular relationship. There's nothing to grease the wheels of industry. There's no relationship currency there.
Well, absolutely. I mean, one of the significant advantages, we've had a change. I mean, things do change; they have to change, and whether we speak about technology or lockdown, which was the most efficient. I mean, lockdown did mean people weren't able to go in and get information. So the councils said, well, okay, if you can't come in, we don't want to stop you. We will find a way of getting you that information. And the great thing is about the councils, having done that and started that during COVID, they found, well, hang on, this makes practical sense. Why would you need to actually sort of go in? Because our people know the area anyway. So what else can they gain from actually visiting the council office, apart from picking up some lurgy that the member of the council, because they're all sat there in air conditioning, spreading all whatever they catch, they spread it all around. You go in there, you pick it up. So you end up sort of picking up something. Or alternatively, you've got some dreaded lurgy, you go in there, these council offices, and you. So the thing is, apart from it keeps everybody healthier.
Yeah, neither of those two scenarios is particularly favourite, is it?
It saves fuel. Think of the amount of fuel that isn't actually getting into the miles, the tens of thousands of miles.
Sure.
That our members had to cover sort of during the course of the year.
Well, sustainability and green issues are top of many agendas, and saving on all that tire tread, that half burnt fuel, greenhouse gases, and just time that's spent in traveling to and from. All of that is saved through using some of the procedures and structures that were put in place during COVID. So in a kind of roundabout way, it forced the whole process to evolve, perhaps.
Oh, very much so. And things were in place, but it accelerated. Instead of it taking 2 to 3 years to actually, companies found, hey, look, if we don't do something about this, we've had it. If we wait until the government allows us out again, our business is going to collapse.
Dare I say it? It often takes a lot of pressure to create a diamond, and I think the fact that this existential pressure that no one can control nor really predict came in and forced an entirely different way of thinking, whether you liked it or not. We are in some ways reaping the benefits of that forced lateral thinking move.
Very much so. And I mean, we've got to thank, because some of the work the council have done is absolutely amazing. I was looking on LinkedIn earlier today, and it was earmarking the fact that Joe, I can't remember his surname, it's because everyone's called her Joe anyway. So the surname's almost irrelevant. But Joe actually worked for the Vale of White Horse Council, and she started working there a couple of years after we had started our business. And I just noticed she is just celebrating 15 years of having worked with that council to start off with. Now, the interesting thing about what Joe did, which is tremendous actually, she actually embraced the work that she was doing. She combined the work she was doing with Vale of the White Horse with the work that was going on in one of the other Oxfordshire areas, which was a separate office we needed to go to. I mean, okay, there were a couple of things that brought that about. A massive great fire in the offices of South Oxfordshire.
It's a very sad thing, but, as I said, existential forces often create change.
Well, the thing is, they were working together anyway, but it brought them even closer. Right. So straight away, the office changed because they put a new office together, which was absolutely great. Now, all of a sudden, that information is readily available. We don't need to go to the council for anything. If somebody orders a search for Vale of the White Horse, in fact, what Joe did, she joined up to, started working with the company, which was giving information out. So she actually embraced altogether, I think it was seven different councils. Because she embraced and carried out that work there, they're all in exactly the same position. We do not need to trade foot into that council. And if you actually sort of think of it, 7 offices. and some of them are quite a distance away. She's now working with one of the, in fact, two of the London offices. She can never do one thing at a time, I think, Jo. She's absolutely great. But this shows the relationship that we can actually have. And as we were speaking about these councils, because, she was going into Hampshire and starting to do searches in Hampshire. She was in Surrey doing searches in Surrey. So all of these places, but this is the relationship that we can actually evolve and develop with councils. And because we know the people, things can happen. And we've heard stories of emergency situations whereby people have been helped out of the mire because the councils are responding so effectively. And Sharon, who is one of our other IPSA members, Sharon and Barty.
Yeah, amazing.
That's right, from Whitefield Legal Services. They particularly have great working relationships. Anything to do with the areas they cover. I mean, what Sharon and Barty know between them is absolutely. And we just had some news out that one of the councils, again, because they're keeping their eye on what's going on, they know what's going on. And one of the councils, was a serious, not because of the members of the land charges officers, I might add, and this is very often the case. It's not the office itself that is at fault. It's the process they have to use, and very often it's imposed upon them. So all of a sudden they've come down from, because they were in a serious position. They'd lost their best staff. They'd moved their best staff out because they were told, hey, we've got this all singing, all dancing, data resource NABA. And it'll save you a fortune. And we can introduce it on such and such a date. So, wow, we're going to save money on this. So best staff, sadly, the best staff go because this thing's going to do everything. Well, it came and arrived, but it didn't do what the tin was suggesting it ought to do. And therefore, they got themselves in the mire. Because one of the things is, and it was on LinkedIn as well, but they didn't test the software provider did not fully test what they were providing alongside what was currently being done.
Yeah.
And that was one of the biggest challenges.
That's kind of an old story. I used to work in software, and this is an old story. They feel up against it. So what they do is they push forward, push through milestones without fully testing, in this case, testing against existing arrangements, and something falls a cropper. I'd hate this. I'd love to say that it was a brand new situation, but we've all come across this before.
Well, I think that sadly, the majority of people, because there was a big article, I think it was in the Negotiator or something of that particular, and it was, damning local councils for their inefficiencies. And when you look at what they're able to do, I mean, they were saying, "Whoa, wow, this council is disgusting because their method of efficiency has gone down to, I can't remember what the percentage was, because you used to be able to get the information in 1 day and it's now 5 days. Now, what the heck difference does that make? You think about this. The average solicitor will often hold fire, not bother ordering the searches for an average, I think, of between 13 and 17 weeks. Now, what the heck sort of...
That's over 2 months. For 2 months, they'll sit on it.
Well, they're waiting for everything to come together because they're thinking, well, if this is going to fall apart, we don't want to be spending any money on searches.
They're trying to avoid exposing themselves to expenditure if the rest of it doesn't hang together. And it's understandable, but what it means net effect is you could have searches taking 2-3 months more.
Absolutely. When you actually look at when the start time, because people say, "Oh, this is disgusting. It's taking 17 weeks or whatever to get our."
It's not entirely fair.
It's taking 5 days in reality, or 1 day in reality, but it becomes urgent.
Yeah.
Because it's taken that length of time, and those things have then become outstanding. If you switch that around, and of course, this makes a significant difference depending on the system you're using, because what we're working at, various ways of updating it and all the rest of it. And we're actually trying to recommend that people, to be perfectly honest, if those searches are obtained right at the very, very start, they're there to be worked on at any time because they are vital. and that it does contain information
it can color the whole basis of your relationship throughout that purchase or that sale. And so the sooner they do the searches, the more information they've got at hand. Knowledge is power. I'm surprised they don't do it earlier on. I know there's an expenditure, but compared to, for instance, like the expenditure on surveying and architectural work, is minor. Frankly.
Oh yes, it is, and it benefits going about it the right way. It sincerely benefits the client. Now, what we are meant to be doing is looking at situations that by using a person with local knowledge, what are they able to achieve that these corporate providers are unable to achieve? Well, if they're not using the person with that particular local knowledge, they've got to basically rely on a system which is a stacking type sort of system.
Right.
First of all, it's to do with volumes, because they'll be throwing volumes at local councils. We don't need to actually sort of do that, because it all works within the pattern that we're actually providing, because some of our members will only work with 4 or 5 councils.
Right.
That's all they need to do. That's the entire sort of volume. And we must be pretty daft, because we work with 75 councils.
Well, maybe they feel like they can't cope with as much.
No, I think the other thing is they've got adequate, because they are so good at what they do. They have some excellent clients that they can actually provide with those searches. But what we have actually sort of found, just mentioning this briefly, because what we're trying to do is gather information from members of IPSA. In fact, if you're not a member of IPSA and you listen, send the information in to us, because this is only part one. What we're trying to do is to give that information out as to what significant advantages. Does it help, for example, if the mortgage that you're trying to achieve got a limited time frame and everything has to go through, and you've got 3 months to do it? What happens if it takes 3 months and 1 day because of the way the solicitor's been sort of handling everything, and you need that information remarkably quickly? Well, yes, some we can achieve in 24 hours. Some we can achieve, in fact, it's been done in less than that. I think Barty and Sharon told us that from Whitefield. That
they had multiple stories.
They had it within hours. And of course, the work that Joe did, A Veil of the White Horse, it's there.
Well,
everything's there.
Look, part 2, we're going to delve still further. We'll tell more war stories. But what you should know is the byword of everything the IPSA stands for is relationships. And you just don't get that in a one-size-fits-all scenario. But until next week, part 2, thank you very much for staying with us through this. Try and keep your feet on the ground. Keep reaching for the stars and look after that mental health. Bye-bye now.